Nobody talks about how lonely it is to not be anybody's favorite person. I wake up every day, no messages, no calls. The only notification I get on my phone is emails. Like, I'm telling you, I have more wig companies texting me than I do actual people. And you know what I mean by actual people. So already I wake up and I don't have any messages from anybody. Cool. That's fine. Like, I'm not expecting you to message me when I wake up, but it would be nice. But then we get to real life where nobody even asks to see me. I'm like that friend where you pass by and you see and you say hi and we talk for a little bit, but then you go on to be with your other friends. I don't feel like anybody actually wants to spend time with me for real. I always feel like I don't belong anywhere. Like, I try so many different crowds and I just feel like I don't belong anywhere. And anytime I try to force myself in a certain crowd, I always end up depressed. It's sad. Sometimes I just wish I was somebody's go-to friend, but I'm always the friend that you just, we should invite her because she just be alone. Or like we should invite her just because she exists and because we talk to her. It's never we should invite her because she's fun or we should invite her because she's funny to be around or like because we love her. No, it's always for a reason or maybe because they feel bad. I don't know. And I've been refraining from posting stuff about feeling like this for a long time, but it's gotten to a point where I'm so depressed about it, where I'm posting stuff about reasons to live. I'm posting myself crying. I never do that. Just because I just want some attention. I just want somebody to just pay attention to me, and it's so sad because that's not me. And the saddest part about all of this is because I know it has a lot to do with the way that I was raised, and a lot to do with my mother sheltering me since I was a kid. I was never able to be a kid and hang out with my friends and go out like all of my other friends did. So now it's really starting to affect me and I'm being forced like introversion, even though I'm not really an introvert. And it's very, very hard because I don't want to be alone, but I feel like I have no other choice. And don't hit me with the reach out to people stuff, go up to people stuff because I definitely did. And when I did, they laughed at me. So I'm done.
This is so raw and real. Feeling unseen or like no one truly reaches out for you, not out of pity or obligation, is just hard space to be in. The honesty here, from those unmet expectations each day to reflecting on the impact of a sheltered upbringing, resonates deeply with anyone who's felt like they've been on the outside looking in. This takes a lot of courage to share, especially when reaching out hasn't been met with the warmth you need.
I was 15. I used to babysit for a married couple, right? Well, that married couple separated, right? But I would still go and babysit for the wife. They had two kids still in diapers, toddlers, whatever. And one day the wife is like, hey, can you come babysit for the weekend? Because I kind of need you, blah, 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 blah. So my mom's like, all right, whatever, I'll drop her off. So she drops me off. It's summer, so she drops me off. And then that same day, the said, I'm going to go washing. I'll be back. I said, okay. And as I sat there, like, for a couple of hours, she called from a payphone to the house phone and was like, hey, how are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool, we cool, we cool. So she was like, all right, cool. I'll call you later. And I said, okay. She's like, all right. So then later came around and nobody ever called back. And then the husband ended up calling and he was like, hey, have you seen so-and-so? And I was like, no. He's like, she ain't been back since. And I was like, no. So he called me and called me and called me throughout the whole night until 7 a.m. He shows the up and he's pissed. And he's like, ¿Dónde puta está esta mujer? And I was just like, I don't know. I'm just a babysitter. So, anyways, he like, all right, I'll be back. He's like, I'm gonna go look for this. And I was like, all right, whatever. He was about his way. Next thing you know, I got this banging on this door talking about let me in. I let her in. She's like, he caught me with so-and-so. So-and-so was his best friend, was her husband's best friend. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I was with so-and-so and he pulled up on me and he caught me and he saw me. And I was just like, what the So this dude goes into the apartment. He gets his in their apartment and they start to argue and fight. And so I just grab the kids and take them to the bedroom and they're fighting and whatnot. She ends up calling the cops because she says that he hit her and he goes to jail. And this said, well, now that he's in jail, now I can freely around with his homie. So I'll be back, Erica. Mind you, she didn't tell me that. She just said, I'll be back later. After she's seen us for like about 2 hours and she was like, I'll be back. I said, okay. The never came back. Like never. It's been 5 years and she still ain't been back. That's wild. She ended up leaving and marrying this other guy or being with this other guy. And she couldn't even marry his because she never got divorced from the first husband. So she ended up being with him and having kids with him and just reliving her life and kind of forgot about these kids. So the dad raised these kids up into whatever. And I was like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Because now I think about it, I'm like, I could never just leave my kids behind. Y si quieren a la pinche gallina, también tienen que querer a los pollitos culeros.
This story is beyond wild. Imagine being a teenager, showing up for what you think is a typical babysitting gig, only to get roped into a full-on soap opera. The mom not only leaves you hanging, but calls you from a payphone and then disappears to mess around with her husband's best friend, and then she never comes back, like, ever? The fact that the dad ended up raising the kids alone speaks volumes. How did people just walk away like that? Would you have handled it any differently if you were in her shoes?
My husband's been telling his coworkers that I'm his sister. Yeah, his sister. My husband and I have been married for 3 years, no kids, a dog. I mean, life is good for us. Or so I thought life was good for us. For the past 2 years, my husband's been working at this accounting firm that he absolutely loves. He's pretty good friends with his coworkers, and sometimes after work they'll get drinks or dinner, but I've never gone. Now, people might think this is kind of weird, but it's not. I've never asked to go. I have my own friends, my own life. I like my husband to have his life and be able to do his things, and I like us to have our own independence in our marriage. Looking back now, yeah, it's weird that he never invited me, not a single time. I've met all my husband's other friends that are not work friends, and he's met all of my friends, but yeah, he never invited me to any of his work friend hangouts. I didn't realize it at the time, but this whole secret started to reveal itself over a year ago. I was out celebrating a friend's birthday without my husband, let's call him Josh, when a guy that I had never met comes up to me at the bar and is like, "Hey, it's Kels, right?" I cannot hide a single expression on my face, so the man knew I was confused because I was literally staring at him like... And that's when he was like, "Oh, I work with Josh." And that made sense. I was like, oh, actually, now that I'm like squinting my eyes and looking at him a little closer, I feel like my husband had shown me a photo of this guy before. We had a little bit of awkward small talk. I mean, I was trying to be nice. Obviously, I wanted to make a good impression. It's my husband's coworker, but also I was celebrating my friend's birthday and I wanted to go hang out with the girls. So near the end of the conversation, when it was clear that, the conversation was ending, the guy goes, "I think it's really nice how close you and Josh are. I wish my brother lived near me and we were so close." And I mean, knowing what I know now, I wish it would have set off way more alarm bells, but I was like, the guy's been drinking, he does not know what he's talking about, and like, it's just not that big of a deal. Whatever, maybe he just has been thinking about his brother today, really wanted to talk about him with somebody. I don't know. None of my business. I guess it is my business. It was my business. I just didn't think it was. I never told Josh about this conversation. Not because I was trying to hide it, but because, honestly, I forgot about it. I mean, it was a 3-minute conversation in my whole night, and when I got home from the bar, Josh was already asleep, so by the time we were talking in the morning, like, it's past. The thought is past. I never really thought about it again. Here's where everything really started clicking for me. Yesterday morning, I was taking our dog Monty out for a walk. Now, Monty's a pretty unique looking dog, so, I mean, you can tell it's him. If you've met the dog before, you know who he is. As we're walking past a coffee shop, this guy walks out and immediately lights up when he sees the dog. And immediately it's like, "Monty, it's so good to see you." And Monty is so excited. And immediately I'm like, oh, this must be one of Josh's coworkers, because Josh actually brings Monty to the office a few times a week. So I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is how you would recognize my dog, and my dog clearly knows who you are. Then he turns to me and he's like, "You must be Kels. I've heard so much about you." And I am like, "Oh, do you work with Josh?" And I was right. He was like, "Yeah, I do." And so we have a little bit of small talk, and, he's petting the dog. All's going well. But that's when he's like, "You are an incredible sister," walking Josh's dog for him. My first thought was to tell this man that I'm not Josh's sister. I am his wife, his incredible, loving wife. But I was like, this man seems nice. I don't really need to put him in that uncomfortable position right now. And honestly, I didn't even really know how to react. So I'm just basically standing there like, what do you say back to that? I had like a million thoughts racing in my head. And this guy looks at me so confused because he's like, what is up with this girl? Like, why is she just staring at me like that? All I managed to blurt out is, yeah, he's a really good dog, before I'm like, oh, we have to get going, and just like skirt it off. Because what am I supposed to say in that moment? I tell Monty, I'm sorry, bud, but this walk is getting cut short because I need to go contemplate my entire marriage. And the perfect time to contemplate your entire life is a walk home, so that is what I did. On this walk, a lot of things started clicking for me. Like, one is that Josh always told me that his company didn't allow +1s for holiday parties. Why did I even believe this? Every company allows +1s for holiday parties. He just was hiding me. Luckily, Josh is on a work trip for the next few days, so I can think about how I want to handle this situation because I'm floored. Do I make the mature and rational decision and talk to him about this when he gets home? Or do I make a little surprise trip to his office? Because I'm kind of leaning towards the latter.
This is wild. Imagine finding out your spouse has been referring to you as his sister to his coworkers. What could even be the reasoning behind that? The amount of mental gymnastics you'd need just to process it. This isn't just one lie, it's a whole web. There's the holiday party, the no +1s, the friend who thought they were siblings. Honestly, I don't blame her for wanting to show up at his office. I'd be tempted to blow the whole thing wide open right then and there.